Show with Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us on That Kevin Show. My next guest is no stranger to my radio audience. She's been with me multiple times, but this is the first time here on the Salem News Channel, and very, very glad to welcome Kimberly Guilfoyle. Hello, lady.
Hi, Kevin. How are you? Great to be on your show.
It's good to see you last week. We got to spend some time at, well, not at Mar-a-Lago. You weren't there when we were at Mar-a-Lago, but the night before you stopped by to say hi to a bunch of folks that were concerned about freedom of speech.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, you see someone like him in the midst of trying to defend himself in front of a court in a constitutional republic like we live in, and he's not allowed to actually say anything. Kimberly, you're an educated lawyer. What's going on here?
Yeah, it really offends me as a, officer of the court and former prosecutor. This is just a complete disgrace, this Biden-Bragg New York trial, because that's what it is. It's politicized, and Biden is at the root of it. It is a full frontal assault on American democracy, on our freedoms, and on the Constitution. And I think America saw it was just, a show trial in the truest sense of the term, a 6-week sham show trial, kangaroo court, in the media capital of the world, New York, where literally the only realistic consequence of any kind of conviction is a talking point for the Biden campaign. And we saw earlier in the week, obviously Robert De Niro out in front of the courtroom and just having a complete meltdown, seriously infected, deranged Trump syndrome there. And, this trial, quite frankly, is just a scar on American democracy. It should have never been brought forth to begin with. It really, truly is representative of a partisan, legal witch hunt. It is orchestrated by and on behalf of the failed president, crooked Joe Biden, and his losing campaign. And to me and to so many Americans, it's just tantamount to gross election interference. They, improperly gagged the president, not allowing him to exercise his First Amendment rights, where a convicted, felon and liar like Michael Cohen was out in front of all the cameras and across all the airwaves. And it's outrageous. They are out to destroy lives, do generational harm and damage, and destroy livelihoods. And they are wasting in a very serious and significant way the resources and attention of the prosecutor and of the criminal justice system. When you see New York in complete shambles, rife with a crime, Alvin Bragg should be more concerned about the serious public safety issues in New York City. But instead, he's trying to bootstrap something against, President Trump, just to try to keep him, off the campaign trail, to try to imprison him. This is what you do in banana republics. It is absolutely outrageous. And I think 4 years ago, you would probably say, wow, I would never see this kind of insanity, coming forward. And whether it was the Mar-a-Lago documents case from, 2 years ago, if you can believe it's been that long, and raiding the home of a former president, likely the future president of this country, and authorizing deadly and lethal force, it is alarming, and it should terrify every American out there that cares about the rule of law.
Yeah. Let me ask you to take us behind the scene, because as you mentioned, former prosecutor, you practiced quite a bit before you got well known on television. In a trial like this, you have, the chance to lay out witnesses. They really only brought one that had any merit to the claim that the president had some sort of mental on purpose reason for why he was trying to deceive. But the president has so clearly said, look, it would have been deceiving if we had marked it as construction fees or transportation fees or something else, but we put it down as legal fees. That the fact that they're straining at gnats like this, Kimberly, to what degree does the judge and the prosecutor risk actual jeopardy of their own legal career? Because I think if you practice law the way this judge and this prosecutor are, I think it's malpractice. I think they're working against the actual principles of the law.
No, you're absolutely right. And remember, Alvin Bragg, to this day and for years to come, won't have even ever said what the underlying crime in all of this was. That's because there isn't one, right? So if there isn't any underlying crime, you don't even need to delve into, well, what was the specific intent here? And that, Todd Blanche pointed that out earlier in the week in his closing argument. And this is insane because it is a constitutional right that every defendant has a right to be informed about the nature of the accusation. And then so that counsel can properly represent and discuss it and make closing arguments with the jury. Yeah. And, but the problem is what we have here, Kevin, is that every defendant has that right, I guess, except for Donald Trump, right?
Well, it's not just this case, and it's not just the Judge Engoron case. You've got, well, we're still waiting for the Supreme Court to tell us whether or not the immunity case is going to be solved fairly quickly. And then you've got the Mar-a-Lago case and the Georgia case. And the Georgia case is plagued with all kinds of problems. And then you had Jack Smith actually admit that in the Mar-a-Lago case, they staged evidence. Like, why is that trial even still on? Well, I guess it's temporarily suspended, but why didn't the judge just rip it up and say it's done?
Well, they should have. And just like the judge in the Alvin Bragg case should have issued a directed verdict that Trump was, innocent, et cetera, because this is just ridiculous. But they're playing for the other side. This is partisan politics. It's political, persecution, and ask yourself, in terms of the Alvin Bragg, it's like, why is he trying to, a state prosecutor trying to enforce a federal campaign law over which state court has no jurisdiction and of which there is no actual evidence of a crime?
And then the judge didn't allow the actual expert on campaign finance law, the FEC, they didn't allow that testimony into the record to directly dispute this idea. She's Kimberly Guilfoyle. Which I think is
actionable on appeal anyway. I mean, this is, nothing's going to hold up. The bottom line is because the judge is literally working, was working very hard with the prosecution to try to put a case against Trump and trying to give them, every advantage. And I just want to say something, and I hope the American people understand, like, this happens in business every day. Settling a nuisance claim is not a crime, and it's not a federal election crime. And they also declined to pursue it. So it is just a path for these payments. It doesn't even involve President Trump. He didn't do it. In reality, think about it, it was Michael Cohen is the one who did everything that they actually were accusing Donald Trump of doing.
In your trial experience,
documents, and as Todd Blanche explained earlier in the week, the case just really stops right there, Kevin.
In your trial experience, I've never seen, but I'm not a lawyer, I've never seen a witness go so badly as Michael Cohen did. But when you can prove in court that he not only committed theft of some $60,000 from the Trump organization, and that he's a convicted liar and perjurist on other accounts, why would any jury, how does any jury begin to put credibility in what he has to tell them?
Well, it's a great point. There isn't any credibility. He is a convicted felon of crime of moral turpitude, and there are specific jury instructions on that. And also, if a witness is materially false in any portion of their testimony, you can disregard everything they say. So the whole thing falls apart.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show.